steady. Keep it moving.
Move it. Keep that line steady. Don't spill a grain. More weight.
Ready? Pass it up. Got it. Keep it moving.
Setting it. Keep it moving. Pass it up. Don't let it dry on you. Smooth it flat. This will stand longer than any of us.
Oh!
Shalom, 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 family. Let me timestamp this. Today is Sunday, December 14th, 2025. And as you can see, this is how we build those pyramids. Those were my ancestors that did that. And some of you may say, well, hey, it wasn't Israelites and all that. Well, let's put it this way. Some black folks built it. Israelites built them as well. Egyptians are black. Okay, so however you want to look at it, black folks built those. All right. And of course, I'm able to state how we did it because we did it. We didn't, people say that, how was you able to get those big giant pillars up there and all that? Because we just handed up a little bit of, concrete mix or whatever we used at that time at a time. That's how we did it. We worked as a team. And, at the time, and some people say, how did they get those pyramids to, stand on sand? They weren't built on sand. Okay. They were, originally they was built on bedrock. And I believe the Great Flood and just time, with wind and stuff like that, no upkeep, made more sand cover up, some of the pyramids where excavating had to be done, because the original owners were, invaded and taken out of power. All right. So the new owners didn't care and they didn't know how to upkeep the land. So this is what happened, But, we built them. I'll say black people built those pyramids. Okay. White folks couldn't get out there and do that. And I definitely say Israelites did it. We might not have built all of them, but we built some of those because we've been slaves everywhere. You look at the transatlantic slave trade. Okay. We was taken on tour to all four corners of the earth and made slaves. And, we did all type of work. We did building in America. We built the White House. Okay. And we built in Egypt too, because we were slaves in Egypt. Okay. And, when you really look at it, it makes you think, it wasn't the white folks. They couldn't take the heat, get out there and die, skin cancer. And even the Arabs, the mixed Arabs, those are not the original Arabs. I've seen one complain online talking about it gets too hot for them. Okay. There's footage somewhere. I'll see if I can find it.
They weren't white people. Why? Because the temperature here in this city goes up to 50 degrees Celsius in summers with a high intensity and a UV index of 12. White people cannot endure this heat. They cannot tolerate this heat. So they cannot be indigenous to this region. Because we semi-white looking people cannot stand this heat. We cannot go outside too much in summers.
They would get out there and they would croak if they had to deal with that heat like that and build pyramids like that size and all that type of hard labor. They wouldn't make it. You understand what I'm saying? When you look at the hieroglyphics, those black folks back then was walking around shirtless. These Arabs are walking around covered up. These are not the same people.
We actually are Arabs, but only linguistically and culturally. However, ethnically, we're not Arab. So for those who don't know, Egypt is located in the north side of the continent of Africa. Arab is a complete different race than pharaohs or Egyptians. You can see that in the way we look, maybe the way we behave and everything.
The ancient inhabitants of the ancient peoples of the Middle East were all different types of black people, different groups of black people. Assyrians were a black people. Persians were black people, Elamites were black people, and Arabs, yes, were black people.
What happened in America, you know, it's a lot of lying and killing, murdering and cover-ups. Until the victor goes the spoils. You know, you make the rules up. You know, the white man has never played fair. You know, he came here and it wasn't enough of him. He didn't have the hardware to go head up with the Native American Red Indians and the Black Indians, which are the Omax. So he sabotaged them and gave them blankets that had disease in it. Because, he had guns and all that, but muskets back in those days, you know how long it take to reload those? By the time you reload after one round, you'll be hit up with 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 arrows, and you'll be tagged up out of here. You'll get tagged out, okay? So for you Latinos that hate having black blood in you, let me tell you something. Those Native Americans that you come from, and I've met some Latinos. I'm not saying this. I'm repeating what they've said to me, and they said I'm a mutt. Okay, so they know that they're mixed, especially the Mexicans. But even the people that you are mixed from are mixed. Okay, those Red Indians are mixed. And just go to one of my last recent videos. I really dive in on it and I break it all down. But let me say this here. You FBAs out there in that group, because it's just a group, just look how raggedy your ideology is, okay? There's not, in comparison to a place like Brazil, America doesn't have a lot of black people, okay? Brazil's the second place that has the most black people outside of Africa. And if black civilization started in America, like you're saying, some of you guys, and it went from the Gulf of Mexico and they built pyramids there and took them to Egypt, then there would be more black people in America than in Africa, or definitely at least in Brazil. Okay. And, a lot of your ideology is bad. Your leader, I'm not the leader, yeah, but you make all the bylaws up. Okay. Tariq Nasheed. He's talking about almost like the what do you call that? The breeding farms was a myth. No, it wasn't. It's a Southern tradition to have large families. On my maternal side, my maternal grandmother, there were 12 of them, and she's from South Carolina. On my paternal side, my grandfather, there was 12 of them. He's from Georgia. So that's just a normality. Okay? I mean, hey, man, I don't know what to really tell you except for the truth. Okay? These hype men are blowing your heads up with a bunch of nonsense. If you believe that you come from Egypt, or Egypt is in America and not where Egypt really is over in the motherland, you're delusional, okay? You need to have your head examined. I just got to keep it a buck with you. I'm telling you this out of, concern, real concern. You really need to have your mind examined. It's not like that. Egypt is not America, okay? It's just so much I can go into here. It's a big mess that some people have made online with the foolishness just to get views and make some money. Leave that alone. Don't take the weak-minded people that's feeble-minded and give them some bad information, and then they go in the comment sections and they become your minions, part of your, cult. I see these FBA people that's feeble-minded going onto other people's channels on YouTube, trying to convert people to that FBA stuff. Now people is using that language more. It's just, I think it's a bad look. Okay, that's why I had to come out and put my piece in, my 2 cents in. But anyway, that's about it. I just wanted to really, come on and straighten out some things. Okay? So I'm going to close this out by saying much love and respect to the converts and also the active Israelites, and all praise and glory to the Most High Yah. Shalom, 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 family. Oh, let me add this in there real quick. There's a such thing as equatorial current in the ocean. And this is how people wonder, they ask questions, how did these black folks in Africa get down to the Gulf of Mexico? That's what they used. You can take the north equatorial current down to the Gulf of Mexico from Africa, but you can't take an equatorial current from the Gulf of Mexico to Egypt. And also, the oldest boats in existence are in Egypt. They're not in all these other places across the country, across the planet, where all these pyramids are at. So think about it. That's because they were manufactured right there in Egypt. So I'm going to close this out by saying all praise to the Most High Yah. Shalom, 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 family.